All right, lads, I'll do the suspense count from the 2020 examcraft mocks that one we did in class the other day. Just redo it as video and I'll finish it off and then we can have a look at another one the next day, I suppose. So if the whole thing ruled out, um, just check what type of a business he is. So he's a hardware merchant. So just the only thing that really can be purchases for him is stuff that he's going to resell. So hardware type stuff, paint or whatever it might be, um, or hardware stock. So number one, it says Lamb had returned hardware stock previously purchased on credit for a supplier for 4,500 and entered this in the correct accounts, but for a figure of 5,400. So we'll do what he did for step one and then undo it. So the correct accounts when he buys stock from the supplier, because it's stock for resale, it's purchases, and he's bought it on credit, so you buy goods from creditors. So it's always, if when you buy on creditors, it's or buy on credit, it's creditors. So let's put them on the right side of the right accounts, but the wrong number. So he returned goods. So creditors go down, but he put that in as 5,400. So that's what he's done. Okay, so that's step one. So step two is to undo that to get it back to zero. Okay, and that's undone everything he's done. It's got it back to zero. So, uh, so what we'll just read on and see what the rest of it says. So a credit note arrived from a supplier showing a restocking charge of 200 to cover the cost of the return. So in effect now he's only getting a credit note for 4,300. Just be aware of that. The only entry made in respect to the credit note was a debit entry of 47 in the creditor's account. So he's put 47 in the as a debit entry in the creditor's account. So we're going to undo that by putting 47 there. That gets our account back to zero. So nothing has happened now. None of all of his transactions are done. So what should he have done? Well, he should have creditors should have gone down by 4,300. He's not getting a credit note for the full amount. He's getting 45 minus 200. So creditors should go down by 4,3. Purchases returns should be 4,3 there. Okay, so I can just call that purchases returns rather than purchases. Okay, so that's it done. So we'll journalize that. So we've got the purchases returns account, and that'll be 5,4 on the left, 4,3 on the right. So that'll be 1,100 on the debit side. And this one here, 5,4 and 4,7 is 10,1 minus 4,3 will give us 5,800 on the credit of creditors. And there are only two accounts, so they don't balance, obviously. So to make them balance, we have to have the suspense, and it'll be the difference between the two numbers. So 4,7. So being correction of purchases returns incorrectly entered. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, check for 4,950 paid by Lambe out of a private bank account. It's private. Once we see that word, we know we're into debtors, or sorry, we know we're into drawings or creditors. For rent of storage space up to the 30th of 6, 2020. We're doing the accounts for 2019, so there's obviously going to be a prepaid there. Had not been entered in the books. Also, the expenses due of 450, which relate to the telephone bill, had been fully paid by check and the business from the business bank account and omitted from the accounts. So they just happened on these two transactions. So we don't have to overthink this, thankfully. It's just two transactions that haven't been completed. So first thing is this one, a check for 4,950 paid out of a bank account. So it's paid out of a private bank account. So we're paying it. So it's our capital account. And he has paid 4,500. So that's our step three there, given that we don't have to undo anything. Now, what's he paid it for? it's to cover, sorry, it's 4950. Sorry. It's to cover rent, 15 months rent. So it's rent as an expense. And because it's 15 months, we know there's going to be rent prepaid as an asset. So the debit expense and debit asset there. So we paid it in advance, so it's all back to us. So 4950 is to cover 15 months rent up to the 30th of the 6th. So 6 months of it, if you divide by 15 and multiply by 6, it'll give you 1980. So 1980 is into next year, which means 9 months of it are for this year. So 4950 divided by 15 multiplied by 9 is 2970. So those two things have to add up to 4950. That's our first one done. Second one then, the expenses due of 450, which was per telephone bill. It doesn't really matter too much what it's for, other than that we paid it. And we'll call it expenses due that we've paid. So we've paid the expenses due of 450. So it's no longer due, so the liability goes down to 450. Okay, so that's all we have to do there. So that expenses due 450 goes down to 0. So when we come to do the balance sheet later on, the expenses due won't be in it. Anyway, we'll journalize that. So we've got capital 4950 on the right. And we've got rent of 2970. And we've rent as an asset of 1980. Just make a note that it's an asset for later on, and that rent is an expense. So just make a note of that for later on. And then we've got our bank, which is 450, and our expenses due of 450 as well. Okay, now there'll be no suspense in that because everything is left out there. You'll only can have suspense when you've done a step 1 and a step 2. You can never do when something has just been completely omitted from the books. So the journal for that being omission of payment of rent from private account and expenses due from business account. Something like that for me, marks. Okay, so number 3 then. Computer equipment bought on credit for the office was entered on the incorrect side of the creditor's account. And debited in the purchases account. So we've purchases and creditors. So we're going to do what they've done and undo it. So what have they done? Excuse me. They put 2,500 on the incorrect side of the creditors account. So creditors should have gone up by 2,500 and they've put it there. Okay. And they've also put debited 2,500 to the purchases account. So they put 2,500 there. So we need to undo those. So we'll put 2,500 there and 2,500 there. And that gets us back to 0. Okay. What should have happened is they bought computer equipment. So it's equipment here. So again, Loadsy asked me this yesterday about purchases. Purchases is only ever purchases of trading stock. So I would have to say purchased hardware stock or purchased stock. If it doesn't say stock, it's always debit what you bought. So what did we buy? We bought computer equipment. So it's going to be debit computer equipment. and credit how we bought it. We bought it on credit. So debit what you bought, credit how you bought it. Okay, and that's that one finished then. Okay, so that's our step 3 there. Step 1, do what they did. Step 2, undo it, get it back to 0. Step 3, do what they should have done. So we journalize that. So we've got purchases, only this 2,500, so the stuff we've got involved. We never have to put in the journal what they've done. We've got equipment, we've got creditors 5,000 on the credit side, and then we've got equipment of 2,500 on the debit side. So that should give you a suspense of 5,000 on the debit. So now both sides add up to 7,500. So being equipment treated as purchase of trading stock, something like that. Okay, number 4 then. The private debt of 700 owed by Lambe have been offset against the business debt owed to Lambe. So again, I was saying to you yesterday, I sometimes get confused between in this one, is it going to be capital or drawings? So always look to the second part. It's a business debt owed to us, which means it's debtors. Okay. So debtors is going to go down. So we're going to credit debtors. So debtors is going down by 740, the full amount of the debt. Okay, so if it's on credit debtor, so then it has to be debit in the private account. So you can only have debit drawings. You can never have debit capital. Drawings and capital are the same account. Drawings is the debit side of it, capital the credit side. So that's been omitted from the books. So they don't balance. We've got 740 here, we've 700. So we must have given discount. You don't have to write discount allowed. You just have to know that it's a discount. And we've got 40 on the debit side there. Okay, so that balances 740 and 740. So again, you can never have suspense when it's just something omitted from the books. So we've got drawings of 700, discount of 40, both in the debit, and then debtors of 740. So being offset of business debt against private debt omitted from the books. All right, and then our last one. So Lambe purchased stock on credit. So the fact that he purchased stock, we know it's purchases. That's where we're going from. For 1,500 plus VAT at 23%. The only entries made in this where the VAT inclusive figure was entered on the debit side of Hardware Wholesalers Limited. That's who we bought them off. So Hardware Wholesalers Limited is a creditor. And he's put the VAT inclusive amount, so 1,500 plus 23% is gone on the debit side there. So he's put 1,845 there. And he's put the VAT exclusive amount on the credit side of purchases. So this is purchases here. And the VAT exclusive amount is, he's put it on the credit side of purchases, that is 1,500. So then we have to say, well, what's he supposed to do? He's supposed to debit purchases, credit creditors. So the 1,845 should have gone on the credit side of creditors. So sorry, we're going to undo those first. 1,845 and 1,845 gets us, 1,500 gets us back to 0. So what should he have done? You always put the VAT inclusive amount in debtors or creditors. So 1,845 should have gone on this side. okay, and 1,500 should have gone on this side. VAT exclusive amount does go on purchases. He's just put them on the wrong side, but then he has left out the VAT element. So the VAT of 345 should have gone in the VAT account. So now 345 plus 1,500 is 1,845 on the debit, 1,845 on the credit. So it balances there. So when you buy goods on credit, this is important for tabular statements as well, and for question ones. The full amount goes, the full VAT inclusive amount goes into creditors. The VAT exclusive amount goes into the purchases or the asset or whatever it might be, and then the VAT has to go in a separate account. So you saw that in the question one working from the same mock, where the VAT was included in purchases of buildings when it shouldn't be. Anyway, we'll balance that off. So we've got creditors of 3690, I think. Just, yeah, 1845 by 2 is 3690. We'll have purchases of 3,000 to 1,500s, and then we'll have the VAT of, which you'd left out, of 345. So obviously that doesn't balance 345, 3690, so there's a suspense of 345. Okay, so being correction of error with purchases and VAT or something. I don't really know what to say for that, so I'll keep that nice and short. So that's it done. If you do part B, C, and D, the suspense account, the statement of corrected net profit, and the balance sheet. So I'm just going to highlight the suspense ones here, so as we can get the suspense done. So there are 3 that include suspense. Okay, so I'm going to just come down here. So this will be part B. So this will be our suspense account. So what we have from number 1, we've got a suspense of 47. From number 3, it was a suspense of 5,000, and from number 5, it was a suspense of 345. They're all on the debit side, which is great. So where's the mistakes? So number 1, it was around creditors, I'd say, was it? So it was creditors for 47. Okay, just take the bigger number there. For number 3, it was suspense of 5,000, and that was based around creditors again, or purchases. We'll just go with purchases, I think, this time. And that was for 5,000. And for the suspense for the last one, it was on VAT. So the VAT was omitted, but the biggest mistake is in the creditors again. Should we go with that? 345. Okay, so all 3 of those add up to it's at 10,045. This side doesn't add up to anything, so to make it balance, that must be the original difference. Okay, and that's the number we are going to use later on. All right, so that's the suspense done. We have to do the statement of corrected net profit now. I'm just going to unbold those. Okay, so for the statement of corrected net profit, we take this original net profit of the 56,000. we're going to add on any credits that are to do with the profit and loss account from here, and we're going to take away any debits. So we'll just look for the ones that are trading profit and loss account first. So purchases returns is, creditors isn't, capital isn't, rent as an expense is, rent prepaid is an asset, expenses due is a liability, and purchases is trading profit and loss account, discount is trading profit and loss account, and purchases is trading profit and loss account. So there are ones that are going to affect the trading profit and loss account. So we're looking for any credits to add on first. So the only one that's a credit is this purchases of 2,500. Doesn't matter that it's purchases. The only thing that matters is that it's a credit. So you add on all credits. All right. So then we're going to take away all debits. So we've got in the first one, purchases returns, 1,100. Then in the second one, we've got the rent of 2,970. In the fourth one, we've the discount of 40. And in the last one, we've the purchases of 3,000. So we'll add them up. The most important thing it says in the American scheme, or it will say in your American schemes, will be allow marks for students' own figures if consistent with previous journal entries. So if you've made a complete balls of this, you'll lose the marks here, but you won't lose the marks for the rest of the question. So that'll give us a 51,390 as our adjusted net profit. Okay, so that's part B done, part C even, sorry. Part D then is the prepare a corrected balance sheet. Gotta give it a heading, get into habits. All right, so we're going to go start with premises. Now you should know these as you go. Basically, you should be thinking, well, have I changed premises in any question yet? The answer is no. So I know that that's not going to change. Have I changed equipment? Definitely. Let's go and find it. So equipment has changed definitely once, maybe twice. So look for equipment. I'm going to bold all the stuff I've done again, actually, just to make it easy for myself. So I'm looking for equipment. There's none in the first one, none in the second one. We've got equipment here of 2,500. That's a debit. Now for assets, you add on debits and take credits. So this is a debit of 2,500. So we're going to add that on. And we'll just check see if there's any in 4 or 5. There's none in 4. There's none in 5. So it's 75 plus 2,500 is 77,500. Then we've got motor vehicles, and I know that we didn't adjust motor vehicles. Okay, most of the questions you do adjust motor vehicles, but I just know we didn't do it in this one. All right, so they add up to there was no depreciation, so I'm just going to put them over here. They add up to 277,500. Your current assets, then you've got your stock. Stock can't change. You can't really adjust stock in any of these questions, so just be aware of that. 55,290. We've debtors including suspense. Now, the debtors including suspense is 78.5. Debtors hasn't changed. No, debtors has changed actually. So we've got I can see debtors here. That's the reason I'm saying it's changed. So go back up and see is there any other debtors changes. There's none in one, there's none in two, there's none in three. There is in four. There's a credit of 740, debtors being an asset. We're going to have to take that away. Uh, there's none in the last one. But we did debtors incorporate suspense. So you go to your suspense and you'll see there's an original difference of 10,045, and that's on the credit side. When you're putting the one that incorporates suspense in, you go with the opposite rule. So we know that we normally take away credits, but for the one that incorporates suspense, we're in effect moving this from being a credit into our balance sheet as a debit. So we have to add on that 10,045. And you'll know that anyway, because if it doesn't balance at the end, it'll more than likely not balance with that number. So that is 80, what's that? So 55,290 minus 740 plus 10,045. So sorry, I took the wrong figure. Debtors is 78.5 to start off with. Sorry. All right, so that's 87. 87,805. Next one is cash. I don't think cash changed in this. So quick check. Nope. So cash can go straight in at 490. Now there is one to be aware of as an asset, and I marked it as an asset in the journal. We've got this rent prepaid of 1980. So that rent prepaid has to go into your assets. Okay, so always leave a space just when you finish your assets and your liabilities, just in case you leave out something like that. So you've got room to fix that mistake if it comes to it. All right, so they're your current assets. Onto your current liabilities. You've got creditors. That's definitely going to have changed. So it starts off at 38,750. There's normally loads of creditors. So we've got, now we're on to our liabilities workings are the opposite. Add credits, take debits. So we've got creditors here. So we're going to add this one of 5.8. Is there one in the second one? So that's the first one done. The second one, no. Third one, there's a credit of 5 to add. So we'll add that. And then is there, that's the second one done. Sorry, third one. And we've another credit of 3690 here to add on. So we'll add that here. So we'll just check the rest of them. Nothing there. That's them all, yeah. So 38,750. They were all credits, so they're all to be added on. So plus 5.8, plus 5, plus 3690 is 53,240. We go to our bank. Yeah, that definitely changed as well. So we've got a credit of 450, so that has to be added on to the bank. And that appears to be the only one. Yeah. So 53 plus 450 is 5750. And then we've got VAT. That changed in the last one. So we've got a debit of VAT of 345. So debits reduce our liability. So it's 12.1 minus 345. So for your liabilities, it's add credits, take debits. So we have to take 375 away, which is 11,755. Expenses due went to zero. I'm not going to bother writing that in because I know expenses due went to zero. So we'll add those together, take them away, and add your answer to your fixed assets. It's 352,350. 345 there, sorry. Okay, we'll come back to it. Finance by, you've got your capital. Finance by is the liabilities rules except for drawings. So if there's capital to go in, which there should be, it's add credits, take debits. So there's nothing in the first one. There's a 4950 to be added on in the next one. A credit of 4950. So just check the other ones. No, that's them all. So, and we've only got one more, which is drawings, which is great. So add that 4950 to the 325. You've got your net profit. Now your net profit is your adjusted net profit from here. So 51,390. That goes in. Add those together. Take away your drawings. Drawings is the same as the assets rules. You add debits, take credits. Drawings in effect is an expense. Now I know there's one drawing in this. It was in the second last working. So 700, it's a debit, so we're going to add it on. So drawings was 28,320. I'm going to add that 700 to get 29,020. And hopefully it has to balance really, unless I've made a transfer error. And I have somehow, I'm in Egypt, sorry. 352,320. So that balances, all right. So that's that one there. Again, check your marking schemes. I may have made a couple of mistakes, but what I do, even if I made a mistake in the journal, you will get, if you get the thing to balance, you will get all of these marks. You get 8 for the suspense, 12 for the correct net profit, and 22 for the balance sheet. You'll get those marks. Explaining what an error of commission is. An error of omission is where you leave something completely out of the balance sheet. So it's these ones here, the ones without suspense. So an error of omission is where something has been left completely out of the balance sheet. It's where something has been, just one of the entries that has been left out of the books. An error of principle is where you've made a complete balls of it. It's you got the principles wrong of your accounting. So you posted something to the correct side, or sorry, the correct side of the incorrect account, or the incorrect class of account. So the best example of an error of principle is the ones where this one here, computer equipment bought on credit, was entered on was entered in the purchases account. So it shouldn't go in purchases, it should go in equipment. So you've got the principle of accounting wrong, that you debit what you bought, which in this case is equipment. All right. So you get all those marks. So that's it, lads. We'll see you tomorrow. I'll put up, see what you want to do, whether you want me to do the published account or do another suspense tomorrow. We'll see how we go. All right. Talk to you then.